We love a good dividend snowball. And it makes sense because you love watching those dividends grow and grow and grow to the point where when you get to retirement, you don't need any money because your dividends are providing you enough income where you don't even need a full-time job. And many of these great dividend ETFs are coming out of the woodwork. I mean, we have MSTY, we have QQQI, we have SPYI, we have JEPI, and JEPQ. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about one of these income producing ETFs, and that is JEPQ. Now, JEPQ isn't that old. It's from 2022, but some of these other ones are from 2023 and 2024, so they're definitely way more newer than JEPQ. So today we're going to be talking about JEPQ, and we're going to be talking about, will $50,000 into JEPQ be enough to crush your full-time job? Hey guys, my name is Steve, and I run the Frugal Expat website where we try to help people to save more and invest better. And today we're talking about JEPQ. We're going to go over the fundamentals of JEPQ. We're going to go over the expense ratio, the holdings. We're going to run some real numbers of a scenario to see if this ETF can be enough for you guys to retire on. And we're going to see some long-term growth potential and some downsides to this ETF. There's a lot I'm going to cover in this video, so stay tuned to the end to see if this is worth it for you guys to add to your portfolio. Now, most people have known that when I talk about ETFs, I want to keep a simple approach. I want to make sure that everybody's got enough information to make the best decision for their portfolio. Now, I do not hold any JEPQ, so there's going to be no bias left, right, or wrong to if you should take this or not. But I'm going to show you guys some of the real numbers. I'm going to show you guys some of the stats and show you guys if this should be one that maybe you could buy and hold. All right, let's get to it. Now, first of all, JEPQ is the JP Morgan Premium Income ETF. Now, it's got an expense ratio of 0.35%, which means it costs about $35 for every $10,000 invested. Now, this is called a premium income ETF. Now, most people are going to say it has dividends, and the dividend yield is around 11.41%. Now, when I say dividends, it is not a classical dividend ETF where we have companies that pay a portion of their profits to the shareholder. Now, this is a different type. This is using a covered call strategy in order to produce income. So basically what it is doing is it is actively managed by some fund managers, and what they are doing is they have assets under management that they are selling covered calls in order to produce premium as an income for their shareholders. So that's what it's doing. It's selling these covered call options that are out of the money and trying to create a premium in order to produce income for their holders. Now, JEPQ holds, their assets are holding the NASDAQ 100. So if you have heard of the NASDAQ 100, it is basically the same holdings that QQQ has. Now, there are probably different percentages of the holdings, but if you think about QQQ, think about, I mean, that is basically kind of the holdings that JEPQ holds. It's got 51.5% in technology, it's got about 16% in communication, and about 14.5% in consumer cyclical. Now, QQQ has got about 52% in technology, and its percentages are very similar to QQQ and JEPQ. So, want to think about the holdings, just think about QQQ's holdings. So you got the companies like Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Amazon, Meta, and you also have Costco in that top 10 holdings. And so what they're doing is they are selling covered calls on some of these holdings to produce an income. This income is paid out monthly. So when we say it's 11.41%, you divide that by 12 months, and that could be your dividend yield. It's income. So it's not taxed like a qualified dividends, like an SEHG or DGRO has qualified dividends. It is taxed like ordinary income. So you gotta take a look at your tax bracket. If you're the lowest tax bracket, lower taxes. If you're in a higher tax bracket, higher taxes. So that's just a little bit about JEPQ. Now, if we were to look at the performance of this ETF compared to some other ones, now the price return of this ETF may not be the best compared to if you had QQQ. So JEPQ would have a price performance of about 10.5% since its inception. Now that's not average, that's since inception. And since a certain time, the price performance of the S&P 500 has been about 40 99%, and the price performance over QQQ since the inception of JEPQ has been about 77%. So there's a difference in the price performance of all three of those. Now, if we looked at the total return, that's including dividends reinvested for the return, then the difference will be seen. As we can see, the total return is going to be 55.70% since inception. It's going to be 59% for the S&P 500 and 80% for QQQ. So since its inception, it's had a CAGR, or the complete total return average, of about 13% since May of 2022. So if you think about it, and we have annual dividend of about 11.41%, we are going to have a price return of about 3% on top of that, giving us that 13 to 14% average return of your investment. Now, that's not so bad. I mean, you're getting a lot of dividends, which is good. If you're looking for income, this is a great income producing asset. Now, it's not like real estate, it's not like a REIT, but it's something that's giving you income because these guys are managing it and they're selling covered calls. Now, you can go out and sell covered calls on these assets as well if you wanted to, but that means you need to get the assets under management. So that means when you have Apple stock sitting at about $200 a piece and Nvidia sitting at about $140 a piece, you need to have 100 shares of that. So that's about 14,000 or 20,000 just to sell one contract. And then you have to be able to sell the contract, make sure you get enough premium, and well, that sounds like a lot of work, doesn't it? Right? But if you really wanted to make it simple, well, buying JEPQ could make this even simpler. All you have to do is you buy the ETF, you get the assets that they're selling, you get the premium income from the covered call strategy, and now you just sit and wait and let that snowball over time. So that is a simpler approach than actually going out, buying the assets, selling the covered calls, getting the income, hoping that you don't get everything sold off, and also probably making some good price returns on that. So does this fit in your long-term strategy? Well, that's a good question. You know, personally, I like tech, I like some growth, and this is a great ETF that's got some tech and growth within it. Now, they're seeking to make premium income, and if we want to do this dividend snowball example, let's get to it, and I'll show you on this market beat where we can do some real-life examples and see if $50,000 invested into JEPQ could outperform our job, could crush our full-time job, and allow us to retire just on those dividends alone. Now let's get to it, and then I'm going to show you guys just a bit of some downsides, because maybe you may not like this after all, or you may like it and put it in your portfolio. Let's get to it. All right, here we are. We are on the market beat, and this is a dividend calculator that can help us kind of see how this snowball happens. Now, right now, I have put in JPQ on this. It's got a starting principal of $50,000. So if you can get $50,000 into it, this could be it. Now, I put annual contribution at about $0. The dividend tax rate is sitting at 15%, but really, we don't know what the dividend tax rate is because it's not qualified dividends. So this is going to be an ordinary tax rate on your ordinary income. So if you're at the 22% bracket, it's going to be 22%. If you're much higher, obviously it's going to be higher. If you're much lower, it'll be lower. And I put an initial annual dividend at 9% because, you know, I like to be a little bit conservative. I don't know if it's going to get 11%. Right now, the stock price is down, so of course the dividend yield's lower. Well, and the price appreciation is going to be about 3%, and I expect the annual dividend to probably only increase 3%. It's going to keep up with inflation, so it's going to be 9% per year. Now, I put distribution frequency at monthly. DRIP, yes, please. 30 years. All right, that puts me at in my late 60s. And let's calculate those dividends. All right. Now, if we come down here, we're going to have an average return of about 11%. And that makes sense because, like I said, I mean, the price return hasn't been good, but the total return with the dividends and the price return, it's going to be possibly 11%. But you're going to get an annual dividend income of about $106,000. Now, that is a pretty amazing job. I mean, if you ask me, I mean, you're going to have an ending balance of $1.136 million, so that's not so bad. And that's just with investing $50,000. So this is the annual dividend right here. We're not going to worry about the taxes because everybody's taxes are going to be different. But as it reinvests, it continues to grow a little bit of a snowball. And at the end, once we invest at 96,000, we're going to come up and we're going to have a new annual dividend after that with about $106,000 for your new annual dividends. So that's pretty amazing news. I mean, after 29 years, they're going to have about $96,000. And will this crush your full-time job? Yes, absolutely. Will these numbers stay the same? I don't know. That's a very good question. JEPQ has not been around that long. But if you really want to make sure this continues to grow and grow, we can do an annual contribution of maybe $200 a month. And a lot of people can do that. And so if we calculate that out, let's calculate it out. And it's got a new annual return of about 9%. That's not so bad. But your annual dividend income is about $151,000. So we come down here, by age 30 years, $150,000. That's amazing news when we think about having enough income that can outpace our full-time job. Now, like I said, it's going to have some taxes that are going to make this a little bit different, but that's just a little bit that's going to happen. I mean, we know taxes happen, and that's going to be about it. So what would I say is some of the drawdowns of having JEPQ? First of all, you're not going to realize some of the huge change that the QQQ can have. Like I showed you before, over the last 3 years, it's had a price return of about 10%, while QQQ has had a price return of about 77%. Now, think about those numbers. While JEPQ is trying to sell covered calls and some of the holdings, it is not taking advantage of the upward movement of the portfolio. So right now, it is trying to sell them, and the best time to sell them is when the market is slightly going up, but not going up too quickly. So that's where you're going to miss out. You're going to miss out on some of those growth coming in with QQQ. If you had just QQQ, you're going to see huge growth. Instead of a 13% CAGR, you're going to probably see more like a 23%. And that is just kind of the benefits and the drawdowns of having JEPQ. The second thing is taxes. Like I said before, these are not qualified dividends like DGRO or SEHD. DGRO and SEHD have qualified dividends. That means they're going to be taxed at a long-term capital gains rate. And with JEPQ, they will be taxed at a short-term capital gains rate. So that means it's going to be your ordinary tax rate. That's a huge negative when people think about having dividends or even this income. But if that's not negative to you, that's okay. You can add this to your portfolio and you can continue to add that growth. Now, another drawback could be kind of going on with that performance is we don't know how this is going to do in a bear market. So if you're looking for some good income, if you're looking for something that has tech and you can take a little bit of advantage of having that tech, then JEPQ could be one of those great ETFs that you can buy and hold. Now, like I said, there's some drawbacks. You got taxes, possibility of not keeping a hold of that great performance when the bull market goes crazy. But if you're looking for income, if you're looking for something to beat your full-time job in the next 30 years, and you're looking for something that's continuing to pay you every month, well, JEPQ is a great ETF that could do that. Now, will I hold it in my portfolio? I don't know. Maybe I may think about that in the next couple of years and see if I want to do it. Should you put it in your portfolio? That's up to you. This is a great premium income ETF. It's got a low expense ratio, so you're keeping more of the income, and it's doing pretty good, and you don't have to worry about you actually physically doing these options. You have professional managers doing it for you. So let me know in the comments. Do you own JEPQ? Do you own any other covered call ETFs? I want to know in the comments, and I'll try to make some more videos like this to help you guys out. All right. Until next time, I'll see you in our next video.